So again, welcome everybody. Today's webinar is team building programs that bring fun, learning, and growth. We're going to give you the chance to hear about some great team building ideas and learn how to select the right team building activity for you and your next event. And you'll have a chance to learn through different examples that Merrick is going to share today about 12 different examples of our most popular and memorable team building activities that we offer. And we offer more than that, but we're going to show or highlight some of our most popular team building activities. Before we get into content, just want to mention that if you have any questions during the presentation, just put those in the Q&A. And at the end, we'll definitely have an opportunity to answer any of those questions that you have. So just submit your questions into the Q&A down below. And now I'm going to introduce Merrick Rosenberg. As you know, Merrick is the CEO of Take Flight Learning. And as many of you have asked me, how does Team Builders Plus and Take Flight Learning connect? Take Flight Learning is the parent company of Team Builders Plus, which Merrick founded Team Builders Plus in 1991. I've been with the company for 15 years, so I've seen us grow into the company we are today. And Merrick, when he created Team Builders Plus, really laid the foundation for who we are and becoming known as one of the top team building organizations in the United States. As you know, Merrick wrote his first book, Taking Flight, and then has also written 4 other books that reinvented the DISC styles, and has really helped our company become New Jersey Business of the Year and nominated one of the fastest growing companies and best places to work in Philadelphia. So Merrick, welcome to your webinar.
Thank you so much, Andy. I hope everybody is ready to have some fun and dig into team building a little bit.
Yep. And before I pass the reins over you to completely, just wanted to share, Merrick, if you could just share with everyone how you got started in team building, in the team building world, just how it all got started. Can you share that, please?
Absolutely. So, it's funny. When I entered the team building world, it was literally in its infancy. I was sitting in a class in graduate school working on an MBA in organizational behavior. And a professor, almost in a passing comment, I don't think he spent more than a few sentences, had mentioned team building. And I thought, what is that? Wait a minute, you could get paid to play games with people? Sign me up for this. And I just thought it sounded fun. I was working on an MBA and I really wanted to help companies create great work environments, help managers be better leaders. And I thought, this sounds really interesting. What is it? Did some research. There were only a handful of team building companies in the entire United States. I was very fortunate. There was one about an hour away and I called them up, got an internship there. And ultimately I thought, wow, this is just a lot of fun. I could do this. And throughout my graduate school experience, I was taking classes and I would take a class on writing a business plan. And I was like, how about a team building company? And then I'd be in a group project with another group in another class. You had to create marketing materials for a company. And I'd say, how about a team building company? By the time I was done, completely mapped out Team Builders Plus, and just in graduation day, started Team Builders Plus and grew it from there. So it's been an amazing ride.
Awesome. And if I could just add in there, Merrick, Drexel did award you the Alumni Entrepreneur of the Year Award, correct?
That is true. They heard the story of how I basically had used the MBA program to start the company and they liked it. So I got to see team building at its infancy, and I will tell you where it began, then I'll show you where it's gone to. I'm going to show you how to figure out what type of team building program is right for you. I'm going to show you why team building programs don't work. And here, if you think about where team building began, it started with what was called high ropes, which was climbing up a tree. We weren't even using platforms. You would literally climb up a tree and you would zip down a zip line, and that was called high ropes. We had all these activities that were 40, 50, 60 feet up in the air. And then we developed what was called low ropes, and low rope activities were on the ground because high ropes were in the air. So we called everything that was team building on the ground, we called it low ropes. And I got to tell you, we did a lot of trust falls and people really liked them. I haven't done a trust fall in probably 15, 20 years, but I will tell you, it's where it began. And everything that we did in those early years had a debrief. The idea of doing team building just for fun, going out, just having a fun day, was not what team building was when it began. It was activities that you would debrief and relate back to the workplace. So you would be doing a trust walk where one partner couldn't see, one partner couldn't talk, and you had to just wander through the woods or through a field. And we would debrief the experience afterwards. And we would talk about What was it like not to see? And this was the parallel of not having vision in the organization and not knowing where you're going and how uncomfortable that is and why it's so important to communicate, or not having a voice, not being listened to, not being able to ask questions. And what did that feel like? And what would that be like in the workplace? So everything we did in those early years wasn't just for fun. It had a point. There was learning, there was action planning, there was how are we going to use this back in the workplace? And it's funny because what we think of now as team building, what a lot of people think of as just going out and having a fun day, is actually not where team building began. When we were paving the way, and like I said, we were probably one of 6 team building companies in the whole United States, and laying the foundation for where it was heading. We were heading there in a place that really had value in the sense of applying what they learned in the session to the workplace itself. So this is just one of my favorite all-time team building fails, which I'm going to talk about. Why does team building not work? I'll read it to you in case you're on a phone or can't see it. It says, Mike, Carmel, you go to the garden store and get 5 bags of lime. Dana, Gord, Jill, get me a tarp and carpet. Then check Google Earth for a secluded stretch of highway. The rest of you, you'll help me bury the facilitator, who, ironically, has apparently just led the most successful team building exercise in our company's history. And that just cracks me up at being the facilitator. But, you know, a lot of times what happens is teams pull together when there's a crisis. We need to be able to pull together teams when things are going well. How do you take teams to the next level? And team building has a tremendous amount of benefits. Not only does it create camaraderie and build connection, but it could help teams get better results. People who are happy and like the work environment tend to stay compared to people who don't like the culture. So team building has always been a part of creating a more comfortable, a safer place where people enjoy what they do. So a lot of times team building doesn't work. It doesn't do what it's intended. So let me show you a few reasons why. And then we'll show you how do you fix that. So what are some of the challenges that people have faced with team building over the years? Well, first off, there's a dichotomy. And this is really the first question I'll have when I'm talking to someone about team building. And it's, are you talking about team skills or are you talking about team dynamics? In other words, does your team want to develop new skills, such as how do we communicate more effectively? How do we run more effective team meetings? How do we listen to each other better? Those are skills. Team dynamics are, okay, we've got a trust issue. We've got a toxic environment. We need to set some ground rules. And sometimes what happens is teams are focusing on skills, such as, let's talk about listening skills, when their environment is toxic and they have to work through some challenges. And this is often the biggest issue that causes team building to fail. You have to determine, is this a skills-based program, or are we going to talk about what's actually playing out in your team in terms of how you treat each other? If you wanted to focus on the latter and you focused on skills, you're not going to move the needle on that team. So the next issue is wrong activity. Just too physical or too cerebral. It's like you've picked the activity that isn't quite right for the group. And I'm noticing my bullets are coming in a fun way, so we'll hit that one now. Wrong facilitator. You've picked a facilitator that is high energy and funny, but they're debriefing serious team issues. Or you're doing a fun team activity and you have a very serious trainer that's more of an executive coach. So you've got to have a facilitator whose energy matches the activity that you have selected, because that activity is what you're trying to accomplish. It's going to help you meet your goals. Sometimes team building activities are too short or too long. You've selected an activity where you're going to work through the team's issues, and you've got an hour to dump all their issues out onto the table and somehow deal with everything that you've just put out there, and you just can't do it. Sometimes the length isn't right. And finally, or one more, too high of a participant to facilitator ratio. So when we design activities, sometimes we'll design an activity where you have 100 participants. Some of those activities you can do with 1 or 2 facilitators because they've been designed to do that. Sometimes you need a participant to facilitator ratio of 20 to 1 and no more. 20 participants, 1 facilitator. Any more than that, you're not going to accomplish your goals. So you have to consider what's the right number of participants per facilitator? And a lot of times team building programs don't get that right. Finally, people are pushed too far out of their comfort zone. Look, trust falls were fun, but we would ease people into them. For some people, that was just too far. You have to make sure you're selecting the right activity for the group. And you've got to make sure you're not pushing them too far out of their comfort zone. You can challenge them, but there's a line. So let's talk about, if these are the things that don't work, let's talk about what you should be considering when you're selecting a team building activity. First of all, number of participants. If your goal is to improve teamwork within a small team of people, you can't invite the entire department of 100 and expect it to improve team dynamics for 8 people. If your goal is to build a better environment in the department, invite them all. Awesome. But you have to consider how many participants you want to have in that session based on what are your goals. Maybe your goal is, I just want to have a fun day. Awesome. Maybe your goal is, we want to have fun, but we want to learn. Maybe your goal is, we have issues. Maybe you want to do something philanthropic and give back to a charity. You need to select your goal right up front. As I said a moment ago, you've got to identify, are you targeting skills or are you targeting the team dynamics? Do you want to stay indoors? Do you want to go outside? Do you want it to be more physical or more cerebral? Is there competition involved? And finally, of course, what's the budget? So there's a variety of criteria. And what's interesting is, as we start asking these questions, it starts narrowing down the field of possibilities. So if you were to say, we've got 100 people, okay, that removes the activities that have 1 to 10. We want to focus on, we want to go outside. It's in the middle of summer and it's going to be beautiful. That removes all the indoor. We want competition. All right, that narrows it down. Now you're probably down to 1 or 2 activities. And if once you go through this list, you should be left with 1 or 2 team building programs, and they will be the perfect one because you've narrowed it down to that activity. So let me show you, this is something that I created years ago. And I think what it does is it shows us this range of team building. And I can put 1 to 10. It's actually more of a 1 to 9 range here. And what we're looking at is, in the 1 to 3 range, it's team bonding. In other words, it's just for fun. We just want to have a good day. Companies who go and go throw, axe throwing or an escape room, it's just for fun. There's no expectation this is going to radically change our culture. We're going to work through issues. It's purely for team bonding and camaraderie. In the middle, 4, 5, 6, look, you want to have some learning, but you also want to have a good time. In the 7, 8, 9 range, okay, we've got some issues, some challenges. We want to work through them. So the first question I ask is, where are you on this continuum? So are you literally right in the middle and we want to have fun and learning? If somebody said to me, I'm at a 4, I'd say, okay, you've just narrowed it down to several activities. If you've said a 9, you've probably narrowed it down to 1. So this is the first question you should be asking yourself on this continuum. Where are you? Team bonding, fun and learning, or team development? So let me show you some activities. I'll show you how it works. Let's start in the team bonding range. So an example, treasure hunts. We have one called scavenger quest. Look, these are, when you think of treasure hunts, these are a great way to get outside and also introduce people to a place maybe that they don't know very well. If you have people coming in from all different places around the country, and we're in Philadelphia, and people people who are coming to Philadelphia, they've never seen the city. What a great way to have some camaraderie, get outside, see the city, meet new people, and this also has a competitive element. There's fun things built into scavenger quest. Some things you have to gather. So maybe it's a menu, or there's things you have to do, such as maybe take a picture of the entire team with exactly 7 pigeons. Try that. See how pigeons are not as cooperative as one might think they are. So they keep moving. That's actually a really funny one. Or maybe you have to take a picture of your team in front of a location. There's GPS-based clues. There's clues where you have to solve puzzles because you have to go there to solve them. So Scavenger questions. Remember when I said more physical, outside, large group? Here you go. Team bonding, just for fun, perfect activity. Another one is gold medal games. You just wanted something competitive, you wanted something outdoors, this is a blast. It's very much like a series of activities. There's gold, silver, bronze awards for the teams that win. Of course, winning is more the honor of being the team that has won. It's more for fun and bragging rights. But funny activities, they're more physical. They get you outdoors. And so when you are talking about team bonding for large groups or small groups, these are good examples of team building exercises that you could do. Now, if you want to move the needle and say, you know, we want to have fun, but we don't get together that often, it would be nice to learn a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about the team dynamics. We're not going to get deeply into issues, but we're going to talk about things like communication and listening and feedback. That's where you can go when you get into fun and learning. But I want to show you, before we even hit there, these are the philanthropic team bonding activities. So let's go here before we get to fun and learning. So what's interesting about the team building world, when it began, we didn't do these big philanthropic exercises. We were really doing activities where people were in that fun and learning section. Wheels for the World is one of my favorites. We've given out well over 5,000 bicycles to children in this activity. And here's how it works. And this model is going to be similar with these other activities I'm going to show you in just a moment. Imagine if I were the facilitator walking in front of a room of 100 participants, and you could do this. We've done this for 1,800 people at once, building hundreds of bikes, literally in one day. Imagine me standing in front of a group as a facilitator, and I say, all right, we are going to be donating these bicycles. We've got 100 people, groups of 5, 20 bikes we're going to build. Each group, you're tasked with building one of these bicycles. And I want you to imagine that we're going to be giving these to children. And often it's children from like the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And very often these kids have never had bikes before. Many of them have never had anything new before. And so I would get in front of the room at the beginning of the day and explain, look, you've got to build bicycles for children. You are in that process. You've got to earn the bicycle parts because, hey, it's team building. So we have funny activities in which they have to earn the parts to build the bikes. They make a poster for their team. They give themselves a name. They create a card for the child, which is on poster paper, and they hang it off the front of the bike. So now they've spent this time earning the bicycle parts. And then I turn to them at the end. We line the bikes up, 20 bikes in the front of the room, facing the group, all with a nice card hanging off of them, decorated with balloons. And I say, all right, everybody, I want you to close your eyes just for a moment. And I want you to imagine the looks on those children's faces when they get a brand new bike and how much a bike meant to you. And I say, because many of these kids may never have had a bike before or even had something new before. Imagine how much this bike will mean to them. And then I say, but wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to imagine? Open your eyes. And they open their eyes. I gesture towards the back door. The doors swing open and 20 children come running in towards the front of the room, who, by the way, don't know they're getting bicycles. And then we surprise them. They start jumping up and down. The adults start crying. It's really a moment. And I will tell you, as many times as I've watched those children come in, never gets old. It is so powerful. It has so much meaning to those kids. So Wheels for the World is fun. It's philanthropic. It's in the team bonding range. Smile Kits is similar in the sense that they do activities to earn toys or earn components that they're going to put into a bag that they decorate, that they color, and you can pick the charity. We've donated over 2,500 toys to children's hospitals. We've donated, we'll work with those who are serving overseas, the armed forces, and they'll tell us what they want, and we'll fill up bags for them. We've worked with women's shelters, we've worked with animal shelters, and we call them up and say, what do you need? They tell us exactly what they need. We buy it, and then you earn it, you fill the bag, and you have a fun day, and we deliver those to those who really need it. We work with a charity of your choice, or children's hospitals are just a fantastic place, of course, to donate toys. Imagine a child going to a hospital, and I had this when my child was younger. He went to the hospital, and when he got there was a toy sitting on his bed, and I never forgot that. And I always thought, wouldn't it be great if we could do that one day? And now we have, and you could do that too. Another activity is Wonder Wagon. Similar to Wheels for the World, except they're building little red wagons, and we are filling them with toys that kids can play with outside. Balls and butterfly nets and frisbees and things they can play with outdoors. Let's get our kids outdoors and away from the TV and having fun. And this is donated to younger children. Then the bikes are a little bit older. The Wonder Wagons is for kids who are a little bit younger. And our last philanthropic, still in the team, bonding range. This one is a blast. It is our mini golf charity classic. So this has a variety of components. Imagine you've got 150 people. You walk into the room and you see all of these green carpets. They're like, I think they're like 6 by 9 approximately. And they take those carpets, and each group is going to turn them into a little miniature golf hole. They can cut the carpets. They will give them tons of supplies, but they also have to earn supplies to build their miniature golf hole. And the supplies they might get are maybe blow up pink flamingos. But what they're really getting are cases of food, cans of food, boxes of food. And they can use those in the building of their miniature golf hole that they're going to create. So here's the process. Step one, you've got to earn all of the components, including tons of food, to create the miniature golf hole. Step two, you build your hole, because in round 3, the entire organization, the whole group, is going to play a round of golf on the miniature golf course you just built. Step 4, we take the food, we gather it up, we rebox it, and we donate it to, typically it's like a food bank. We've donated to Ronald McDonald houses. I'll never forget, there was a story. We were working in Minneapolis. There were 3 Ronald McDonald houses. We called them up and said, hey, we're going to be doing this miniature golf activity. We're going to get a lot of food. Would you like us to donate it to you? And the person we're talking to almost burst out in tears. And she had said, our cupboards are nearly empty. We didn't even know what we were going to do. You can't imagine how much this means to us. And she came and she spoke at the event and thanked the individuals for what they had done. So build a miniature golf course, donate food to a charity in need. Could be a food bank, or it could be a specific, could be a shelter or something like a Ronald McDonald's house. And it is a wonderful activity. So these are 4 philanthropic, give back to the community. There's almost no limit to the number of participants that you can have here. You could have 100, you could have 1,000. It scales up very nicely. All right, now I've mentioned fun and learning. Let's do it. So you've now moved to this place where you're saying to yourself, you know, we'd like to have a fun day, but it would be nice if we actually got something out of it that we could bring back, that we've had some insights that we've gained about team dynamics, not necessarily about developing skill sets, but more thematically, like we need to break down silos. We need to communicate better. We need to listen to each other more effectively. We need to think of ourselves as one team and not just 6 departments or 6 in this bigger division. It's really thinking about how can we take what we've learned in the activity and apply it to the world around us. So we've got a few activities here that fit into this fun and learning category. First one, this is probably our most popular, is intergalactic adventure. And so I'm going to share information with you that I wouldn't necessarily share with the participants in the beginning of an activity. But here's, and because I'm going to give you the secret here. Here's how it works. We tell a group, picture could be 150 people broken up into tables of 6 people per table. Not only are they going to interact with people at their table, but they're going to interact with people at other tables. And we color code the tables: blue, red, green, purple, orange. So now once you've color coded the tables, it does something to the psyche that makes you think, we are the red team, and we don't care about the green team, who doesn't care about the orange team, who doesn't care about the yellow team. We're just out here. We are all focused on our own goal, which is to save the galaxy. However, we tell them in the beginning that you all must work together to save the galaxy. And each table has a specific goal that they must achieve. And if all of the goals are met, they save the galaxy. But if even one of the tables does not meet their goal, which is to destroy the enemy's communication array, the enemy will communicate and destroy the planet. And what happens is there's 20 rounds, and in each round, you have to make a series of decisions. And they have supplies that they can utilize or trade or give away to other teams. But as I said, in those early rounds, teams just focus on their own goal. They just hardly even talk to the other teams. In the middle rounds, they start getting up and working with other tables because they realize, wait a minute, they have a neutron scanner and we can trade them for phase blasters, and they have more air cells and we need more space rations. And so what happens is in the middle rounds, the teams really start collaborating, but it's very conditional. I'll help you if you help me. What happens in the later rounds is everyone realizes we are not going to be successful unless we all help each other. So what did they get out of this? They get the entire range of team dynamics, from we are out here alone and don't really care about the other groups in our department, to, well, we'll help you if you help us, to, aren't we all one team? Aren't we all one organization? Shouldn't we work together? And the conversation that comes out of that is beautiful. It's really geared around breaking down silos, improving communication, working together as one team, having one goal. They have a lot of insights when it comes to the debrief of intergalactic adventure. So the next one is Team Samurai. And Team Samurai is a martial arts based team building activity. And we have some martial artists on staff who have a significant martial arts experience and team building experience. And we have combined those two together to create Team Samurai. And the underlying theme of Team Samurai is all about energy. In China, it might be called chi, or in India, it's called prana. In Japan, it would be called ki. In Hawaii, it's called mana. And it's this idea of energy, and this energy flows through us, and it creates the environment we work in. And we use martial arts techniques. Don't worry, it's using foam boppers. It's pretty simple. It's not that physical, actually, but they actually get to experience martial arts. And the theme is, are you a fountain or a drain? Are you adding to the work environment, or are you taking away? And so Team Samurai uses a very different methodology. It's not really about punches and kicks. It's about how are you working together and supporting each other. So very different one. If a group wants something a little more physical, something they've never done before, it's a lot of fun. We integrate the elements of fire, wood, earth, metal, and water. We actually link them to what are the disc styles. If anybody knows the eagle, parrots, doves, and owls, we link those into Team Samurai. It's really a blast. Last one, Harmonia. Now, Harmonia is nice because Harmonia is a virtual team building activity. You picture this kingdom of Harmonia. It is led by a very wonderful king, but he dies, and the neighboring kingdom that is Nextdoria, led by Ruth Linnaeus, is not so friendly, and they're coming. You have a series of years. Each year you have to make some decisions about what you're going to do. And it's a very interesting balance, because if you make decisions that support the king, such as buy the new crossbow 12, well, your royal regard goes up and the king's happier with you. If you have a festival, your peasant power goes up and your peasants are happy with you. But if you only focus on one of them, one of those meters goes down, and bad things happen if you're not keeping everybody happy. So you can do this, about 50 people or so online. absolutely a blast, highly interactive, use a lot of breakout rooms each time, and then they come back and you come back as a large group. So very fun, team-based, and it is really all about just creating that balance and balancing a lot of things. It's the balance of short-term versus long-term decisions, focusing on your staff or management, focusing on culture, focusing on results. So there's a tremendous amount there that is debriefable in the after the activity where we talk about it. So if you have questions, throw them into Q&A and we will absolutely answer them in a little while. Next, let's move the continuum down a little bit more. Now we're entering the 7, 8, 9 range. And when you start heading there, not that it's not fun, but it's more serious. We're working through team issues. So taking flight with DISC, there's learning that happens here, right? This is a good place for you to have some fun. It is a lot of fun and it is a lot of learning, but you can also talk about team dynamics if you use this program as a team dynamics program. For many years, I used DISC as a team building program. That's how it began for me. But you can absolutely use it for team development. You can get team reports, debrief the team reports, talk about team dynamics. It probably borders that line of right between fun and learning and team development. It's like maybe in that 6.5 range, but we put it in the 7. But it's kind of entering that range of, hey, you can actually really work on your culture here. You'll have fun, you'll have learning, but you're really developing culture. Next, we've got something called teaming up, and this is about creating high performance teams. And this is now we're entering the 8 and 9 range, because here we're talking about how do you take your team and take it to the next level. They take a survey, they go online, we have an online system, they evaluate the team using our team effectiveness inventory. They rate the team on a series of questions. It's about 35 to 40 questions. We can customize it. And they're interesting questions. Does your team during stressful times, does your team pull together or pull apart? That's an interesting one. I'll tell you a really interesting one. People speak only in positive terms about those who are not present. That is one of the lowest rated items. There's so many questions that target the team dynamics, rating how would you rate morale in the within your team. People keep team members informed about their priorities, projects and priorities. It's very powerful because it highlights the issues. It's anonymous. They can put comments, they can put numeric ratings, and then we take that and we debrief it. We identify the core issues that came out of it, and they walk out of there with an action plan. The last one is similar, but it's specifically for senior leadership teams. And this is where we take our team survey, but we have a senior leadership team version of that survey, and we then administer the survey and we work through it, and we help senior leadership teams work through their issues so they can be more effective and they can impact the organization in a positive way. So you can see those are a little more serious. Taking flight with DISC is at the lower end. It does have fun, of course. It is a fun session, but you can get some great team development out of that session. So we've got a lot of activities. Andy, I'm going to throw it back to you here and have you, let's bring in all of them, and have you see if there are any questions that anybody has. What would you like to know?
Sure. Thank you, Merrick. One of the activities that you discussed was the intergalactic adventure. And one thing that I, love to share with people and try to express is that, as you were sharing, there's a lot of great takeaways from intergalactic adventure, but it's that excitement in the room. It's people clapping and cheering as you see them go from very siloed teams to coming together and celebrate. It's hard to really share that energy in the room. Would you mind we had a question about, can you share what the teams are actually doing when they're color-coded in the teams and how that activity works a little bit?
Sure. So intergalactic adventure, you've got 20 days. Within each day, they have a choice of which mission they are going to go on. They can destroy the enemy grid mines. This is in outer space. They can capture or capture an enemy spy. or retrieve someone who has already been captured. And so what happens each day, they have to decide which mission they're going to go on. And what happens is, as they go through the activity, they actually have a pair of dice that they roll. And what happens is, let's say you have to destroy the enemy grid mines, you must roll a 7 to be successful. Well, 7 isn't that hard to roll, but if you are successful in previous missions, you can deduct points from that dice. So if you've done a couple of the previous missions, maybe you only need to roll a 4. And what happens is, the more they work together with other teams to achieve their missions, the less important the dice become. If they try to go it alone, they have to be very lucky on the roll of the dice. If they work with other teams, when they pick missions and they actually can support each other on missions and they share the resources so you can be successful on missions, then what ends up happening is you can actually be very successful. Luck has no bearing whatsoever on the activity. But because they in the early rounds, they don't work together, the rolling of the dice becomes a very significant part of the activity because they're not supporting each other. So in a sense, each day they pick a mission, they're utilizing supplies, and they can work together with other teams to accomplish the mission.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. One of the activities that you described earlier for the philanthropic programs was smile kits. And I wanted to add that I personally love smile kits. Not only, when you have a large group and you're creating 20 smile kits, not only are you creating those 20, but those smile kits are so large and there are so many items in those smile kits that most charities, most hospitals, most organizations don't give just one bag to one child or to one person. They divide it up. So in the Wheels of the world where you're giving one bike to one child, one smile kit bag is really going to help multiple people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So with that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Merrick.
Yeah, you could have 8 kids who get toys from that one bag.
Oh, absolutely. So with that, you were talking about the scale of 1 to 9, going from fun to more on the learning side. What if a group wants to do something fun like a philanthropic activity, but they also want to go a little deeper in that scale and do something more fun? Can we combine team building and team development?
Absolutely. We have a lot of times where all of these are pretty much, you could do them as like a 3-hour activity. So timing wise, every one of these can be done in 3 hours. Taking flight with disc could be a full day. The teaming up, which is going through the survey, that could be a full day. But what happens is you can do in the morning, you can do a treasure hunt. In the afternoon, you could do taking flight with disc. Or you could, in the morning, you could do taking flight with disc. In the afternoon, you could build bikes for kids. So we have a lot of times where they'll do, I wouldn't recommend connecting 2 activities that are just for fun. Usually you would do a just for fun, like a treasure hunt and then taking flight. So you can couple 2 together, but you would probably couple a fun one with something that you do have learning.
Great. Absolutely. And I know, looking at these activities we talked about earlier, how these are activities that, our facilitators, lead, and a lot of folks know us from Team Voters Plus, and some folks know us from Take Flight Learning. Can you share, I see a couple questions about certification. I know some folks are familiar with that, with Taking Flight with Disc. Can you share that, how we lead the team building programs versus that Taking Flight world?
Yeah, so we don't have certifications for the team building programs, but for example, if somebody wanted to use the team survey, we could run the assessment for a team and they could then use the survey, within their organization and facilitate it. These activities are, it's almost like, especially all the ones that you need to be in person for. It's potential, we've talked about doing this. If we were going to do certifications, we would need to fly people in, or you would need to fly in to a location, and we would need to certify everybody together. And because they take place in the classroom, you can't do intergalactic adventure in a virtual certification and deliver it in a classroom. So you would need to do them in person. So we don't do certifications right now, but if there is a groundswell of support for that, we actually could do that. We've been doing these activities since 1991. We've been creating team building activities, so we have a lot of them, and we've done each one of these probably hundreds of times.
Thank you. And you mentioned, America, can we do any of our team building activities virtually?
Yep. The one that's virtual that I listed here is Harmonia, but we also have another one as well. And that's do you want to share that one? You can share that. That's a
Sure,
good one.
we can also do our Smile Kits activity virtually that we do. It's a smaller version of the Smile Kit, so the more individual kits, where those are actually going to help one child versus multiple children. But we also have a trivia and scavenger quest. The trivia and the scavenger quest are good, like 1 hour virtual events that are great for evening, whether you have folks at home or in the office. Those are 100% virtual, just like Harmonia is 100% virtual. Smile Kits involve some shipping, but there's plenty of options. We've had global teams take part in the virtual sessions. So those are great options for those folks. Another question, Mark, that's coming in. Is there a limit to the number of people that can take part in our team building events?
We haven't hit one yet. We did, I think, 1,800 people building bikes, and I believe we built over 200 bikes that day. Was probably the biggest group we've worked with. But the thing is that some of these activities scale up and some don't. So we would only recommend activities that you could do. For example, scavenger quest. If you were in Philadelphia, you could do a treasure hunt with a tremendous amount of people because Philadelphia can absorb it. We've done treasure hunts in Princeton, and it's a great town, but I wouldn't put 300 people into Princeton. You wouldn't notice them in Philly, you'd notice it in Princeton. And so sometimes there's certain places that we can have more people, and some of the activities can scale up to a lot of people. So sometimes we'll do this at a conference that has 1,000 people, and we'll just get integrated into the conference, and we'll kick off an event or be the closer or the evening event at a conference. And you can do it with a lot of people.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. Merrick, is team building seasonal?
That's a great question. The activities are seasonal. We do team building all year long. The outdoor activities, such as scavenger quest, absolutely, we tend to do that when it's warmer, or we do it in warmer places. Or gold medal games we'll do outside when it's a little warmer. We tend to do philanthropic activities all year long, but we have a lot of companies who do them towards the holidays. They want to do something that it's tis the season. People are thinking about giving back to the world around them. We tend to do a lot of philanthropic events towards the end of the year. Towards the beginning of the year, we often do a lot of intergalactic adventure. It's great for large group indoor conferences. We tend to do that a lot inside. So we do team building all year, but certain things work, like the outdoor ones, of course, you at least want it to be in warm weather.
Absolutely. I always share with people how we were in Boston one winter, pre-technology, doing a paper treasure hunt, and the ink froze, so we had to switch to pencil, but the team wanted to be out there, so we were out there with them.
I remember many years ago doing a treasure hunt in Miami, and I said, hey, you want it to be nice and warm, and it was like 110 degrees, and they're from Miami, and they're like, that's fine. And I'm the one who's like, you sure? We sure this is okay to go out? And they're like, yeah, no worries.
Perfect. Merrick, do we have time for one final question?
Sure.
So can you just share what the process is if someone's interested in having us run a team survey?
Sure. So first of all, with any of these, if you just reach out to us, we can connect you with one of our folks who can walk you through and help you figure out which is the right one for you. We would now ask you a series of questions, probably suggest one or two, and my guess is you would be like, yes, because we'll narrow it down to what fits your needs. Running a survey, we talk to you about what's going on with the group. We have a standard assessment that we use. We've been using this survey for many years. We continually refine it as times change, but it's really powerful. We run this, we find out what your issues are. We send you over a survey. You look at it. Usually people are like, awesome, but we can make changes to it if we feel like we want to add a few questions or take something away or change some wording. And then we get people's names and email addresses. We send them the survey. They go online. They take the assessment. We give them about usually 1 to 2 weeks to complete it. We generate the report. It's anonymous. We print the reports and we bring them to the team building program.
Awesome. Thank you.
So just to pull it together here, if anybody would like to sign up for a team building program, if you want more information, reach out. You can get our information. If you go to takeflightlearning.com or teambuildersplus.com, you can get our contact info there. You can reach out, fill out a form, ask questions, tell us what you're looking for, or just say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about team building. We'll reach out back to you. If you schedule an event, it doesn't have to take place by December 31st, but if you schedule an event, you'll get 15% off the facilitation fee. Doesn't necessarily include like the cost of bicycles. Those are, would be above and beyond. And it doesn't include materials or anything else that we've scheduled previously or any other discount that's out there. But basically, if you get 15% off of the facilitation fee if you schedule something prior to December 31st, it could take place next year if you like. So I thank you, Andy. I appreciate you starting us off and helping out with the questions. And I hope that gave you a good idea of just a variety of team building options that exist. Team building can be a lot of fun, but you got to make sure you pick the right activity that meets what you are looking to accomplish, and we can help you do that. So reach out if you are interested, and we'll be glad to help you out. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day, and hope to speak to you and see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.